Hello, non-existent people in the chat. Welcome to our live stream. Hope you'll be joining us soon.
You knocked that one out of the park straight away.
Great introduction.
Very professional indeed.
Thank you. We have Brett here, who is currently I'm with the crazy Aussie over there.
Hello nobody.
And we have Sam from Life After Life ITC.
Hello.
How you doing?
Not too bad. It could be worse. I'm still half awake. Like, I only woke up 5 minutes ago.
Sky's here.
Hello, Sky. Hey, Kim.
Hi, Kim.
Hello, Beck the Medium.
Hi, Beck.
Urban Wildlife. Who's that? Hey, Pocket Watch. Hope everybody's doing great. We certainly are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm still waking it up.
Yeah. Julie's dragged us out of bed early this morning. It was lucky. Sam, it was lucky I checked the stream time because I was expecting the normal, like 10:30, 11 o'clock. I'd got up, so I thought, I'll sit here and just wake up. And then I thought, I'll see what time Julie's stream is. And I thought, shit, it's in 30 minutes.
We're ready.
So I had to walk down the coffee, take my tablets and everything, and then just dash.
Yeah, it was coming on to 9:15. It was 15 minutes into the start of the stream, and I was sitting there waiting for the kettle to boil for a cup of coffee so I could sort of wake up. And I had one eye open at that stage, and I went, get sorted out here.
But you made it.
Yeah.
So, I have absolutely no idea what we're doing this week. Surprise, surprise. Nothing new there.
Yeah, we're running on the usual schedule. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
We make a... Just wing it, make it up as we go along.
Umbrella topic.
There was something that happened last week, and I can't remember what it was now. I was going to discuss with you two, and I forgot. It'll come to me at some point during the discussion what it was. It was something paranormal related, and I cannot for the life of me remember what it was now. You
haven't had that thing show up again, have you?
No, but I'll tell you what I did that happened was it last week or the week before? It might have been the week before. And Julie, it was the freakiest thing ever. I was lying in bed. Jace was at home. And it was about 2 o'clock in the morning. And I was still awake, listening to my audio book. And then I heard this weirdest moan I have ever heard in my life. And it was somewhere between a moan and like a wailing noise. And it only went on for a second or so. But honestly, it was the creepiest noise I've ever heard in my life.
Oh my God.
But I ain't heard it since. But it was just so freaky. And it literally sounded, because I always sleep with the bedroom door open. I always do. And it literally sounded like it was right outside the bedroom door.
Now, you know what's interesting about that, though, is that apart from when you saw this thing at the top of the stairs, the other time that you saw it was outside your bedroom door as well, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, in the same place.
In the old house, it was because these two houses are very similar in makeup. They're almost identical, the old house and this new house, right? Mm-hmm. So you got the living room, then you've got a tiny little, it's like a little 4-foot square gap space, and then you've got the kitchen. So and in that 4-foot space is where the stairs go to upstairs, right? So it's just like a very tiny little hallway, and it's all. Kaya used to sit at the bottom of the stairs and stare up at the old house onto the landing. Now, when that black thing came round the corner, that was on the landing. When I saw that big shadow, that was on the landing, exactly the same spot. That night, Jace saw something black come into the bedroom, came from off the landing as well. It was most of the We used to have the stuff in the kitchen, like when Jace had the coffee roll across the counter at him and stuff. That was in the kitchen. And when the bin fell over and the cupboard doors flew open, that was in the kitchen. But the majority of the stuff in that old house always happened, always centered around the stairs and landing. It all nearly, I'd say 95% of what went on there. Nothing's really happened here, and I've been here 3 years now. But the other night, that moan was the creepiest thing I've ever heard, honestly. And it was like a cross between a moan and a wail. I just can't. I couldn't even make the sound if I wanted to tell you how it sounded like. It was that weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You know, if I was in bed, I would be getting up and watching telly for the rest of the night.
Well, I was listening to my audio book, so you know, I was just chilling out. But it was weird, and it was quite loud as well. It weren't like quiet. It was like the person was literally standing outside the bedroom door, or a person was standing outside the bedroom door saying something. But it was this really freaky, weird moan. Hi, Fairy. Hi, Jack.
Hi, sorry. Did you
Kind of weird.
Yeah, like me. If that had been me, I'd be like, "Hello, can you do that again? Do you do that?"
No, I just carried on listening to my book.
Did you rewind the book and make sure it wasn't that?
Yes, I did actually. I thought, I thought, is it like a glitch on the audio file? So I did actually flick it back, listen to nothing, and I only heard it once, but it was about 2:00 in the morning of all times.
Very strange. Yes, indeed.
I've no idea, Sky. I've got absolutely no idea what the reason for it was. There has nothing happened in this house for 3 years. You know, and then just got that the other day.
Weird.
Pocket Watch says I'd get the torch out and see if anyone was shagging by the window.
Well, if they were, they'd have been doing it on my landing.
And making very strange noises.
Yeah, we had a repeated paranormal type event, and this time I have a witness. This time, you know, which kind of puts a question on the paranormal, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And it's to do with my dog. People would know that, you know, I used to have a dog, and she would go up on the couch here, and she would sort of peep in at the camera to, you know, get involved in the chat or whatever. She's gone to my friend's house because I would rather the dog have a better life. You know, my friend has a garden. She, recently been through a lot. She was looking for a dog, and it was a hard decision to make. But there was a couple of times when I was here, or I was sitting down watching the television, and I could hear the difference between the sound of footsteps of 2 feet and 4 feet. Mm-hmm. This is exactly like the dog, and it's behind me. I'm sitting watching the television. The dog is walking around the kitchen. Except for when I turn around, the dog is lying asleep on her armchair, and that happened twice. Now, the other day in my friend's house, we had to go to a meeting. We had to leave the dog in the kitchen, and we locked the door to the hallway. And we were on the way out, and next thing my friend he sort of freaks out. She says, "What the hell is that? It's a dog." And I said, "What?" And then I listened, and you could hear the footsteps of the dog, exactly the same as my dog, walking towards the door. Do you know? Oh, yeah. And it's kind of like, I says to her, I acted like I wasn't that surprised. I said, "Oh yeah, that's happened a couple of times." And I went to explain to her. I says, "There's this thing called stone tape theory." Now, a lot of people explain stone tape theory as, you know, the repeat events of the past
Yeah.
where energy from people and animals goes into the surroundings and is played back in certain conditions.
Yep.
But a lot of people talk about stone tape theory as people that are dead now, possibly, and it's a repeated. It's not ghost. It's a repeated. It's like a videotape.
Yep.
But could it not be possible that stone tape theory could happen with living people that are still alive and
Oh yeah.
living animals? You know.
Absolutely. Yep.
Well,
So
if you think about it, with stone tape theory, when people see these things, what they think are actually ghosts or whatever, they're always doing everyday things. So it's obviously occurred while the person was still alive.
that's
You
right.
know,
Yeah.
uh, so I'm presuming to if it however it works, it probably could work exactly the same way with animals. I presume.
Yeah. And
Mm.
maybe it doesn't happen with everybody or it doesn't happen with every animal. But it seemed to happen a lot with Phoebe because this is, I think, the fourth incident now.
Hmm.
Do you know, actually had an incident not long after Phoebe went to my friend's house. And you can imagine, I've had this dog for years. I'm used to the shuffles and I'm used to the little walks around at night time. And there's nobody in the house. There's nobody in the two flats down below me. So everything is all quiet. Next thing you can hear the pitter patter, the same pattern, the same sound of the dog walking around the house, kind of thing. And I'm going,
Mm.
wow, you know?
But
Yeah.
where the paranormal's concerned is fascinating with animals because, like I say, with in the old house, Kaya seemed particularly sensitive to it. Coco never seemed to react; very rarely reacted at all. It was
Mm.
only the odd occasion that Coco would ever sit and look up the stairs like somebody was there. But Kaya used to do it pretty much every single day. Every single day. Well, it used to be like on the evening. And Shebas have got this manner they do, and it's common to all Shebas. When something catches their attention, they flick the tail from side to side. Not quite wag, it's like a very slow wag, but they flick the tail from side to side. And she used
Mm.
to, sometimes she'd be sitting there flicking, and then other times she'd stand up like she was, not like she was frightened, like she was actually pleased to see whatever she was seeing, and she'd flick a tail. Now, like these two, if there's any stranger in the house, obviously they bark at them. But Kaya used to react to whatever was at the top of that stairs like it was something friendly, and she knew it. But she used to flick a tail, which is what the Shebas do when they've got an interest in something. And she did that practically every night. She'd do that at the bottom, and she'd always be staring up the stairs, looking onto the landing. Ever so strange.
Yeah, we have no idea what animals are capable of
Hmm.
compared to what we are,
Yeah.
you know.
It makes an interesting theory, though, like what you've said, Sam, because um, when a lot of people are seeing or experiencing hauntings in buildings or homes or anything else, is it a trace of their own energy that they're experiencing?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Or is there just sounds of past events? The
Hmm.
people are still alive, but the trace
Yeah.
was left, kind of thing. So it
Mm.
kind of adds a little bit of complication to paranormal events, you know.
Well,
Mm.
there are reports out there which are really, and there's a few of them that I've read about where people have actually been seen in two places at once, and actually had conversations with people in those two separate areas. If you after the thing, if you go and look on the internet, you'll probably find a couple. But there have been reported incidents where people say from a village have gone to London or something. They've been down in London having a fun time, and somebody in the village has actually had a conversation with them in the street while they've been attacked at two separate locations, and that is documented quite a lot.
That wouldn't be stone tape theory though, because
No, but what I'm
if the
saying is that could be another explanation for how
yeah
things are being heard in different places.
yeah you know that it's kind of weird, you know. And do you know with the footsteps the other day when we were going out to the car, you could actually feel that little vibration of the footsteps going
Yeah,
past.
yeah.
And my friend was going, what's that? That's
Hmm.
a dog? She says, do you hear that? I go, yeah, yeah. And then I give her a possible logical explanation kind of thing. I says it's happened a number of times before. Why it keeps happening with Phoebe, I don't know. You know? Maybe she's just the right animal to do this or something. I don't know. You
Yeah,
know?
it is weird though. But it ain't saying it's Popper. It's what's the name? Your dog? It could be another one.
Yeah.
Could it be now that you haven't got the dog there? There was another dog that was interacting with her, and now it's wondering where she is. You don't know.
There's a possibility, but the footsteps sound exactly the same. But I don't have documentation to back that one up. But it sounds exactly like Phoebe's walk.
Yeah.
You know.
It's strange how it can happen. Like I've had it happen to me once, and I think one of my girls had it happen to them, where I was in the kitchen and I think I was washing up or something, and I'd seen a cat walk from the hallway through the kitchen into the laundry, and I'm standing there and I'm waiting for it to come back out, and it didn't. So I walked in the laundry, nothing there. And I went out, and the cat was out the front. She wasn't even inside. And one of my
Yeah.
girls had a very similar thing happen too.
Yeah.
It's actually fascinating how many people see cats.
Yeah.
I think if you went and collected all the reports of people who said they've seen animals, I think cats would probably be the one that's the most popular.
Yeah.
Someone said earlier, it might have been Sky, said that there has been a bit of a phenomena lately where a lot of people are seeing these dog creatures. I think it might have been Sky, or it could have been someone else.
Uh, See, I'm always a bit wary when things like this flare up because I think, is it the YouTubers generating the new flavour of the month?
Mm.
Or is it actual everyday people seeing? If it's everyday people seeing it, then it's more interesting. If it's paranormal channels and YouTubers and whatever claiming it, then I do tend to be a bit more dubious that they're just trying to start the next big buzzword.
Yeah, more
But
skeptical.
yeah, if it's the general public, then that'll be more interesting.
Mm.
Desmond the dog.
Yeah,
We talk about the black dog with red eyes.
yeah,
We going down that road, yeah. All right.
Desmond dog.
The Desmond dog.
Desmond.
See, because I know you got bargasts and stuff like that, but mainstream, it was the Omen that brought dogs in, that brought the dogs into all this forefront of things. When they used the Rottweiler and in the film and everything, and they did that breed a real bad disservice. But forevermore, Rottweilers have been known as devil dogs. That shows you the power of the media when it comes to things like the paranormal. That an Hollywood movie has
Mm.
even affected people to the point that they refer to a certain dog breed a certain way as the
Mm.
Yeah.
devil dog.
Yeah.
You know,
Padro Pio had an experience with what he believed to be a devil dog way back in. He didn't die until the 60s, so
hmm
it was 50s or 60s, you know.
See, I don't believe in devil dogs. I believe people may have seen a dog-like thing, but I do not believe it's in any way connected to the devil. It may be, they may be positive, they may be negative. I just personally don't believe that in any way connected to the devil.
Could be an elemental kind of thing too,
Yeah,
like Bigfoot. You
yeah,
know?
that
Yeah.
is more along the type of thing it probably is.
Big
Yeah.
dog. Big
Yeah,
dog.
yeah,
Bigfoot, big dog.
Yeah.
yeah. It's somewhat elemental or something, a bit more primal.
Mm, definitely. Could be elemental. It could be,
My,
yeah.
One of the most interesting stories I have ever heard of animals to do with the paranormal was actually told to me by one of my aunts, and apparently it was her sister. Was it a sister or a sister? I think it was a sister-in-law. Her mother was dying of a terminal illness, and apparently they were sitting in the room talking to the mother, and the mother suddenly said, "There's a white rabbit just jumped over the foot of the bed," and she was adamant this rabbit had jumped out, literally jumped over the bottom of the bed, a white rabbit, and landed on the floor. She got all the family in the room looking for this frigging rabbit on the floor, and while they were looking on the floor for the rabbit, when they got up, she passed away.
Oh, you're kidding.
Mhm. My aunt told me that story, but they couldn't understand why she saw a white rabbit, and apparently she said it jumped from what she said. She claimed this rabbit jumped clean over the bottom of the bed from one side to the other, and she'd got all the family on their hands and knees under the bed trying to find this bloody rabbit. And while they were on the floor looking for the rabbit, she passed away.
That's interesting because you hear a lot about the phenomenon of people seeing birds or bats when they pass
Mhm.
away because it's something that you when your brain's shutting down or whatever.
Well, birds are
Um,
considered psychopomps anyway.
yeah, but a rabbit, that's kind of
Yeah,
outside the
yeah. I've
picture.
never, the only time I've ever heard of white rabbits is Alice in Wonderland. But
Yeah,
she was adamant that this white rabbit had jumped over the bed.
or the Matrix, follow the white rabbit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm going back 40 years ago when I was told that story. I was, only in my teens when my aunt told me about that. And I can't
Mm.
remember whether it was a sister or a sister-in-law. I think it was the sister-in-law.
One of your
But
family.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it was a family story. And
oh
while
God.
while that was, it was I shouldn't laugh, but it was while she got them all on their hands and knees under the bed looking for the rabbit. She passed away.
Maybe she just didn't want them looking.
Could have been a spirit animal, Jackie. Could very well
Yeah.
have been. But what a strange thing, because they say, your mind. A lot of these people who don't believe in life after death and stuff like that, they say, "Oh, it's just your mind playing tricks on you." But that woman was fully coherent, when she was telling them this rabbit had jumped up and over the bed, to the point she was insisting they all got on their hands and knees and looked for the bloody thing. So it's not like her brain was dying at the time. But why would a mind have conjured a white rabbit?
Hmm. It's unusual.
Because it's not the sort of thing you associate with death unless a cast member of Watership Down, innit? You don't
Mm.
associate a rabbit with death. If anything, it's the opposite.
And a white one at that.
Yeah. But apparently, she said it was pure white, and it literally jumped from the. And my auntie said she said it jumped from the left side of the bed. It jumped up through the air, clean out because it was only a single bed. She was in like an hospital bed with a support mattress because she's got cancer. And she said it jumped clean over without touching. It didn't land on the bed. It literally jumped clean over the bottom of the bed from left to right and landed on the floor. And she insisted they all found out why the rabbit was there and what it was doing. And while they were all on their hands and knees looking for this bloody rabbit under the bed, she'd gone.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Absolutely crazy. Few drivers have seen a gigantic roo as well on the outback runs. Oh my god, I don't think I've heard of that story. We get some pretty big bloody kangaroos over here, though. Just look at Brett's profile picture.
I love that kangaroo's face.
It looks a bit sad. And yes, it is a male kangaroo.
I wouldn't know. I wasn't looking.
Neither was I. Yes, but we're talking roos that are half the size of a truck. What the hell? I'm going to have to look that one up. I've never heard of that.
Yeah, if there's something like that out there, there's a lot. Most cars nowadays have some sort of camera in them, so you know.
Mm.
You know, there's a lot of car footage of paranormal events, but then again, you know, there's a lot of people.
Don't you think it's sorry, Sam? Don't you think it's amazing how much paranormal stuff's connected to roadways and stuff like that?
Well,
there seems to be an awful lot of paranormal activity occurs along roadways. You know, with ghostly hitchhikers and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, if you go back over the years now, the road may change or whatever. Or, you know, for instance, you know, we've got the Barnesmore Gap here. I haven't finished the video or whatever. But so many people died on that road because it's in a valley. It gets the worst of the weather at winter time. You know, cars were shitty way back in years ago, and the roads are really bad. You know, we drove through that road at night time, and when you come to a corner and it's had heavy snowfall, you do not know that turn is there unless you see tracks in front of you. You know, and you know there's been incidents of hitchhikers getting into cars. There's one famous incident involving a priest, and I went to get information, and there's one pub in the middle of this valley. There's nothing. There's no houses or nothing either side of it. There's this pub, you know, a little Irish pub, kind of attached, kind of a very old. And you go in there, and it's like going into somebody's house where you've got all these antiques hanging off the wall and stuff like that. And I look at the menu, and they say, "Welcome to Biddy's Bar," and it had a brief reference to strange things happening in the actual bar. So I asked about the strange things, you know. You know, I was there to have a meal, but the first thing I asked was about the strange things, and apparently there was a lady is seeing upstairs, and she says, "But we leave her alone; she's fine," you know. She says, "There's a lady upstairs. There's a ghost of a lady upstairs, but we leave her alone," and it was so casual, you know, that kind of way. She says, "But if you come back later, a lot of the old people still come here. You know, it's a routine for them, and they have so many stories." So you know, I couldn't go back that evening, but I might pick up the investigation again because I want to get to the bottom of the priest story, because the priest story has conflicting evidence in it. You know, that doesn't make sense. So I want to get the whole story rather than.
In what respect, sir?
Well, he had said that he had picked up this girl that was hitchhiking. He seen a blue light. You know, like the modern headlights nowadays. Yeah, it's a bright white light, and you got the blue around it. Yeah. Well, he's seen that. That makes sense. But he picked up the girl, right? He's driving along, and this girl is in the back. He's driving a Ford Escort. And he then notices that her head is up against the window, but he can't see her breath on the window. If it's dark and it's pouring rain outside, and he's driving the car, he's sitting in the front seat, how is he going to see her breath on the back window?
And why did she get in the back? Most people would naturally just jump in the passenger seat if they were picked up.
Yeah, but
Mm.
if we're talking about paranormal events, normal things goes out the window.
Yeah.
But she didn't exit through the door. She just disappeared, apparently. Do you know?
But
So,
the thing with that priest is what there's no benefit whatsoever to that priest telling a story like that. Just for the sake of saying something.
oh, absolutely not. Apparently he was pretty shook up, and
Yeah.
he used a lot of holy water on the on the road that night when he got out of the car. Do you know? There was a thing about the radio starting to get interference. We had shitty cars back in the 70s and 80s, and we'd be listening to the radio as kids, and you go through that valley,
Yeah.
and next thing you get static because there's no flipping coverage. So
Yeah, we
there's
used to have that when we drove into Wales. You might as well forget any radio signal once you went into the Welsh mountains, and it's the same up here with Yorkshire, because we're on the side of the Pennines. You are in a bit of a radio shadow.
yeah. There's people write books and they do research and that, and sometimes they don't do enough research. There's two stories. The two of them are almost the same. One is 1967, the other one is 1981. So when it comes to books, people that don't do proper research often write books as well. So you have to be careful with stories.
But sometimes it's deliberate as well, Sam. Sometimes the later version will embellish it to make it sound a little bit more dramatic and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So you do have to be very careful if you're reading anything that hasn't literally come directly from the source, because it's like you say with anything else. These stories are told in pubs and stuff, and when they go through the filter of booze and everything else, the original story is not the final story come the end of it.
Yeah. The reason why I'm following up this story is because we seen a Hitchhiker as well one night. There was 5 of us in a car, and there was a business lady driving. She had one of those 1980s car phones, the shitty ones where you drive under a bridge and you lose your signal.
Yeah.
And we were kind of wondering why would a woman be in the middle of a valley, 5 miles each way where there's no houses? Why would she be out in the middle of nowhere drumming?
Was this at night?
So, yes. We drove past, and we were that shocked that we all of a sudden turned around, and she wasn't there. And it was like she was there, and next thing she just faded away, sort of thing. And one of the people in the car says, floor it now. She says, and the driver says, there's something going on here. Mm-hmm. So we belted it, and she says, will I call the police? Will I call the guards? She says, yeah, if it is a woman in the middle of the valley, she's obviously in trouble because she's in the middle of the thing, And we rang the guards, and it was like, they seemed to have had these phone calls before. Yeah. But it was kind of scary. You're out in the middle of this valley. There's no lights or nothing.
See, I think that makes it worse as well, is the remoteness of a lot of these sightings. Because you're somewhere remote, it increases that feeling of vulnerability, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it'd be right up Tom Buckmaster's street, the haunted road.
Is he still going?
Oh yeah. He keeps to himself. He doesn't get involved in drama. But Tom would film Tom would park his car on the side of the road, and he'd have the camera down the road, and he, guys, welcome to the haunted road. And then he'd film that for a while. And guys, I'm feeling knocks under my seat. There's something here, and he'd hype it all up. And he'd go on and he'd do a video. And when he's finished the video, he'd turn the car around and face the camera the other way. And there's another video. Welcome to another haunted road. When he's on the same road, kind of thing.
I remember him doing that many times.
Yeah. Do you know, and claiming that entities got into the car with him and he feels it at the back of his seat. Guys, I'm freaking out now, you know, kind of thing. And it's flipping hilarious.
See,
but,
we sorry to interrupt, Sam. We've got occurrence of that happening here. Not far from here is a place called Stockbridge Bypass. And it's one of the most famous locations in the UK because it's haunted by a black monk that literally nips into the back seat of people's cars when they're travelling 60 miles an hour. What are you laughing at?
A famous paranormal researcher. Well, that's going we've been overboard. He used to be into the paranormal. Let's put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
He told us the story of a previous investigation where he was in the car, and the monk grabbed him by the scones.
Oh.
And he said, "Yep." And he told that story without flinching. It's the same guy that.
Yeah, I know who it is.
Yes, he was in.
Doesn't live far from me.
Yes, and he was. He was interfered with in a certain inn.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the bed and had a great performance, which myself and Rachel watched a couple of times and got great amusement out of it.
This guy, by the way, you know, he seemed to be obsessed with sex.
Oh yes.
Judging by the amount of his followers he knocked up.
Yeah, it was. We call it the rammed in the ram in incident. Yes.
Basically claimed he was attacked by a succubus.
That was the funniest paranormal thing I've ever seen.
You know, but if let's be honest, Sam, if it was a succubus, it must have been wearing a strap on, because all succubus are female.
Oh my God, Brett. Okay, changing the subject. I have a very good question.
The location is famous for having a succubus.
And yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Or tried to him in the room, not realising that succubus are female.
Mm-hmm. Well, apparently he had a wild time.
Mm-hmm.
So Sky has a question. She says, question, how do you feel about these investigators ... officials and how they assess your story? They ask about your stance on alcohol or drugs, ? And they dismiss you if you have a family member with mental problems.
I just think that's a bit narrow-minded, to be honest with you. Mm-hmm. You know, because a lot of alcohol, yeah, you know, it does, and drugs do affect your perception, let's be honest. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I've smoked cannabis in the past and I've never seen anything on cannabis. Cannabis doesn't do that kind of thing to you. It tends to just chill you out and relax you. Mm-hmm. The same with mental illness. Just because you've got a family member with mental illness doesn't mean you have. Mm. You know, and I just find that a very narrow-minded thing to do, because you're basically saying to that person, oh, well, just because one of your family members got mental issues, you obviously have as well. That, to me, comes across as a dismissive attitude straight from the beginning. You've got to be open-minded in the paranormal, up to a point.
Yeah, yeah. That you know, that's you know, I understand what she's saying there, because I've heard about that before, and we had a case. It was a domestic. It was a domestic case where these people had claimed that they had been attacked in their own house and stuff like that, and we had to do this. We had to investigate this with. We had to be very, very careful. You had to be very, very careful in every domestic case. And Rachel knew the people, so I sent her and that, and
That was
she
nice
has.
of you, Sam.
Well, the reason why she went and not me is she's familiar with them and that, not me. So it was easy. It was an easier thing. This was going to be just an initial ask questions and do a little bit of filming, do a little bit of EVP, do a spirit box session. She did do that. It wasn't filmed because they didn't want to be filmed. They didn't want their house being filmed. They didn't want themselves being filmed. And it's just a pity it wasn't just even recorded audioly, because Rachel says there was a lot that came through on the spirit box itself.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing came through on EVP, but then she says the behaviour of the people in the house, made me suspicious. And she says there was history of mental illness, there was history of heavy medication, and there was history of substance abuse. So she just kept in contact with them and asked them to keep an update on it and talk them through. But to me, I says, if anything paranormal does happen, how is it going to affect them? So I says, I can't touch this case because it's but just keep in contact with them, make your communications open. If something really happens, get them to contact us. We'll have another look at it. And we've had another case before where two girls sharing a house were having paranormal events as well, and then they were linking it to stuff that was left up in the attic of the house and stuff like that. There was heavily substance abuse involved with both of them, and I says I'm not going to touch this. I can't, because I don't want to be responsible if something happens to them.
Yeah, you've got to be. See, this was why I always steered clear of that stuff anyway, because you're dealing with people's lives, and certain people aren't emotionally equipped to deal with things very well.
Yeah,
And you could very easily trigger somebody to do anything. The other thing you've got to bear in mind as well is, because the popularity of social media and everything now, everybody is out for their 15 minutes of fame, and everybody's out for their, to make an easy buck. So you do have, when you get these kind of things, start to hear these things, you do have to assess the people themselves as well as the situation, and
yeah,
try and you can't always get it right, but a lot of the time there's certain elements that'll indicate whether it's more of a genuine thing or whether they've got ulterior motives going on, is all I'll say.
yeah. I've had people wanting to contact me, collab with me, blah blah blah. The reason why they want to do it is they've got a YouTube channel and they want subs. Now they're not going to get a white lot off me, but 2,500 and they have a couple of hundred, they're going to take anything. And sometimes you may look forward to maybe collabing with somebody, but I would be very, very careful, because
Yeah.
a lot of collaborations I've noticed in the UK end in some sort of conflict, and I just don't want to do that.
Yeah.
Myself and Rachel are very, very we're not very eager to bring somebody on because
Yeah,
we just do this. We just go out and we do this. But what if this other person goes out with us and falls and tries to sue us or something?
yeah,
We have to be very careful there. But going back to this other thing about substance abuse, alcohol abuse, and stuff like that, that can heighten up paranormal activity,
exactly.
but it muddies the waters as well,
Yeah,
and you have to be very careful there. Especially domestic cases. Those people could turn around and sue you for the slightest thing.
yeah,
So I would protect myself.
yeah. Going back to the original question, personally, I don't think you should dismiss the claims out of hand just because there's known drugs or drink problems there, because they could actually be experiencing something, but you would have to be a lot more careful than dealing with somebody who wasn't in that sort of situation.
I think, from my opinion, the same thing. I don't think that you can just automatically dismiss a case because this person has a mental illness, or they're taking drugs, or they're an alcoholic, or whatever else. I don't think that's a fair thing to do. Having said that, I think if these people do have um, substance issues and you're worried about getting involved, I think for a YouTuber like me who goes out and does things, on the fly, and I'm no one special, I wouldn't get myself involved in that because I'm not equipped to deal with that. If you were somebody who was a lot more well known, does it for a living, has more resources, you would actually try and get the person some kind of help if they were accepting of that, um, in regard to their mental illness or substance issues, and kind of take it from there.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
that's
That's
what
my
that is why I've never got involved in the domestic stuff, because it's a
yeah.
minefield, and you get these people, and they go onto YouTube or whatever, and they start making claims that they're going to this house to get rid of X, Y, or Z spirit. And I always sit there and think, nobody knows the nature of these things. All we've got at the moment is theories. There is no way anybody could sit there and claim they can pass a spirit over or banish a spirit from an house or stop this, that, or the other, because nobody knows what they're dealing with. And until you know what you're dealing with, you cannot say you can deal with it.
Yeah. I think in the old times, and this is relevant to the question, a lot of these people that make these statements that we don't, if there's alcohol abuse or substance abuse, we won't touch this. A lot of the people that say go along those lines, they have 10, they have about between 5 and 10 meetings with the people of the house before any cameras come into play. They bring a notebook and pen. You know, we
Yeah,
people don't do that anymore. You know,
yeah,
they're very very quick to rush in for the opportunity to make a YouTube video.
Yep.
You know, and these people that go along these boundaries of saying we need to make sure that there's no alcohol abuse and substance abuse and all that kind of thing. They bring a notebook and pen and have meetings with them and take notes, and
yeah,
then make an assessment after 5 to 10 meetings with them. You know, to be sure that that they're going down the right track. You know.
yeah. Bex just put something interesting in the comment. What bothers me is when investigators get something evil and immediately start calling it a demon. Evil people exist in life, they also exist in death, which I agree with. But I'm very reluctant to brand anything good or evil, because just because something is of a negative nature doesn't necessarily make it evil,
Mm.
if you know what I'm saying.
Yep.
And people are too quick to ban this good and evil thing around, and I do think that it's more of a Christianity influence than anything else. I
Yeah.
believe there's positive and negative out there, but negative doesn't necessarily mean evil. So I'm very careful. I'm very reluctant to brand anything evil unless it's going around killing people.
I actually saw on YouTube, don't hate me for that, but I saw a very, very well known psychic medium who is also pagan on a video, and even she turned around and said, lower vibrational entities does not equal demon.
Yeah.
There are a lot of spirits and that out there that were just shitty people, and they're shitty in the afterlife.
Yeah, it's like I've always said, people do not turn into Mother Teresa just because they've passed over.
Yep.
And I've always said that. If they're a twat in life, they're a twat in death.
Yeah. Well, the line that we decided to go down is, and this is over experiences, making mistakes, and all that thing. Don't claim anything, because there could be some sort of logical explanation. 2, don't label anything and put it into a box, because you could be wrong. Don't make assumptions and don't label things. So we don't say, well, there's a spirit over there or a spirit over there. Where's the proof? Yes, you've seen something or you heard something, but there's other explanations for it. We seen something. We're not scientists. We can't say, well, this is, stone tape theory, or it's this or it's that. If you don't claim anything, you can't be called out on anything. So, we don't put anything into a box. Evil, good, blah blah blah. And like Brett says, very often when it comes to making labels, it's to do with religious beliefs and stuff.
Yeah.
People have their religious beliefs. That's good, but don't. The paranormal kind of is in between spirituality and science. It's not quite in both.
It's got a foot in both camps.
Sort of, yeah. It's kind of more into spirituality. That's why science won't touch it. It's in a very, very complicated spot on the map. So, don't make assumptions. Most people actually do. Especially when you talk about ITC, they believe they're talking to the spirits of famous people and all that kind of thing. And you make contact with something.
Yeah.
You don't have 100% proof that contact is, a famous person or the person that they claim to be.
You don't even have proof that it's a person, so.
Yeah, because you can't, the visuals is not involved there,
As a paranormal investigator, any paranormal investigator, the only claim that any paranormal investigator can ever make in any situation is that they've experienced something that they cannot currently explain. And that is as the furthest you can make any claim. Because, further down the line, there could be an explanation for it or whatever. The only solid claim any paranormal investigator can ever make is that something has been experienced that currently cannot be explained. They cannot label it with anything. They cannot say it's a ghost. They can't say it's a demon. They can't say it's anything. All they can say is something's happened that they can't currently explain.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't cut it for videos and platforms and TV. Unfortunately, that just it's not going to cut it. You have to have a narrative, you have to have a storyline, you have to have some sort of claim. Otherwise, it's not entertaining. But proper paranormal research isn't sort of it's not it's not popcorn and drinks, sit down stuff. It's real stuff, and
Mhm.
in the middle of all that, it can be a little bit boring,
Yeah.
and the evidence may not be as exciting as you want it to be if you want to sit down and entertain yourself with paranormal stuff. You know.
See, the problem with platforms like YouTube and TV and programs like Most Haunted and Ghost Adventures and stuff like that, they have given the average viewer totally the wrong impression of what paranormal investigation actually is. You know, that Joe Public genuinely believes that you go to one of these haunted locations and something's guaranteed to happen every few minutes. And
Well,
and that's not the fault of the viewer if they've never gone and done it for themselves. They're just seeing what they're being shown. So they genuinely do believe that you go to an haunted location and from minute dot, you've got shit happening there. The reality is you could visit an haunted spot 100 times and not see a thing.
yeah,
That is the real reality of paranormal investigation.
yeah, and when it comes to platforms like YouTube, if you have an hour long or 2 hour long investigation or 3 hours and that, and it hypes up and then it dips off all of a sudden, your video is done
Yeah,
on YouTube. It's over.
yeah.
You failed. As YouTube's not going to put that video out to other
Hmm.
people. If the viewership drops off halfway through, and it happens on my videos all the time. But I'm not going to change what I'm doing. You know I want to go out and put the truth out there, and I want to do it for me, for a number of reasons, health reasons, and my own hunger for it, because I have captured stuff on video, I have captured stuff on audio, and that makes me want to go out even more. But in order to get more, you have to go through the boring stuff.
Hmm.
You have to just keep filming,
Yeah.
collect that data. You're bound to catch fish at some point.
Hmm.
If you just keep trying.
Right. Dedra's put someone in the comments again that's interesting, and then Beck responded to it. Dedra put, "Oh, guys, can someone please explain to me why some people say that if you use sage in a place that has paranormal activity, the sage invite demons and evil spirits?" And then Dedra's put, "I use salt." Right. In the middle, it's actually the opposite of what you think, Dedra. People seem to think that sage scares off or magically banishes whatever somebody's experiencing. The reason sage is popular was because when it became popular in the medieval ages, it was very common. Sage was everywhere. It's like everybody has table salt nowadays. In the medieval times, everybody had access to sage. It was a very common herb. So basically, it was people like to think that they have protection against everything, and it was just invented, as a oh yeah, use sage, it'll get rid of stuff. It's total bunkum. The same thing is exactly the same for salt. There is no proof whatsoever that sage salt or fart spray deters any kind of spirit
Yeah.
or anything else. It is basically a psychological crutch.
Yeah.
Hmm.
People need to feel that they are in control and they have ways of protecting themselves.
Yeah. I think with salt, people believe that the salt is a attract.
It's
It
it's a
draws away in.
it's a purifier. That's what it purifies. That's why it was used.
Some people believe that it actually sucks up energy. It does attract water and stuff.
Hmm.
So maybe it does attract energy and sucks it away. I don't know. you know. But you know, you know, I've seen people, cleansing a house and stuff like that. To me, and I've seen videos on it where you focus on the smoke, you meditate, you put all that negative energy into the smoke, and then you open the window and you let it go. To me, it's a psychological thing, you
It is a
know.
Yeah.
psychological thing. We do not know what we're dealing with. If you, and like I keep saying over and over again, and trying to reinforce to people, we don't know what we're dealing with. If you don't know what you're dealing with, there is no way in hell you know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Mm.
And when people say that salt attracts energy and sage, uh, gets rid of energy and stuff like that, that's a scientific statement with no documentation to it, as far as
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
There's so much out there in the paranormal world that people will claim is fact, and it's not. I mean, it's like demons, and I'm not saying that demons don't exist somewhere, although I've never experienced anything like that. But what proof is there? I
Yeah.
mean, there's things that are thrown around and people get scratched, and people claim to have been possessed and that. But how do we know that that's actually a demon? What proof do we have that that is a demon, as
Mm-hmm.
they claim demons are?
I've got no doubt whatsoever that there are positive and negative things out there,
Hmm.
but you've got to be very careful how you label them, because as soon as you use demon, everybody straight away jumps to the Christian definition of demon with,
Yeah.
red skin, forked tail, pitchfork, and living in hell, and that is just one interpretation. You know,
it's it's similar. It's similar to the Christianity being caught up in this flat Earth sort of
hmm
thing. You know, and the scientists are making channels saying, you don't, you're referring to the Great Flood in the Bible and stuff like that. The Bible's not a scientific document. You
no,
cannot go by the Bible as a scientific document.
no,
You
it,
know,
it, it, it it is basically a collection of beliefs,
Brett said something.
compiled into a book. Well,
I was just going to say, you said something way back when we first started streaming, like ages ago, that should sit with people and people should remember. And that is that light and dark, good and bad, all of that has a balance. There has to be
there has to
both
be a
in
balance.
balance, you know?
But I'm very wary of classing anything as a demon, because straight away people jump to the Christian, and it's not their fault. It's what you're brought up with sticks, sort of thing.
Yeah.
But and it then you've got the complication of Hollywood. If you notice, a lot of pre-omen and reports and stuff very rarely describe, possessions and stuff in the way. If you look at medieval possessions and the descriptions of them, they're drastically different to the type of possessions descriptions you get post omen films and stuff, and The Exorcist. People have seen things on telly and then they've adapted that into their culture of what a possession is, or what happens when you're attacked by anything negative, a negative entity, for want of a better word.
yeah,
The media and the film industry have played a massive part in the paranormal, a massive part.
yeah.
Ouija boards are the biggest example of that.
You know, Kim has just mentioned that she uses selenite to cleanse her cards and stuff like that, and some people bring these crystals into all of this. Now, I do, I actually, I polish crystals. I have a box of them over there and stuff. And what I do know is that energy is produced by them. You know, if you have a big enough crystal and you have sensitive enough hands, you will feel that wall of energy. But I don't know what it's got to do with the paranormal. Maybe that, crystal on Earth, you know, it's life. People say ground yourself, go to the beach, take your shoes off, go for a walk, and you feel a lot better after that because you're walking on sand with particles of crystal in them and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't know if it cleanses anything. I don't know what it does. You got these books with all sorts of, this crystal does this and this crystal does that. It doesn't seem to be backed up with science though. I don't know where all this information is coming from. I don't have that understanding at the same time. Do you know where you have different crystals? This is good for, you know, this, and this is good for, healing, and this is good for meditation. This is good for, clearing the mind and all this kind of stuff.
Mm.
How do people associate crystals with certain things? I don't understand a lot of these things.
I think a lot of it when they say, this one is good for childbirth and this one is good for headaches and all of that. I think that's probably just a marketing tool to sell them.
Do you know what it all
Um,
comes down? Do you know what it comes down to a lot of the time?
what?
Belief.
Yeah,
Belief.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Because the mind is the most powerful tool anybody has got, and
Absolutely.
and it's amazing what you can overcome with sheer willpower, or what you
Yeah.
can achieve with sheer willpower. The thing with crystals, there is some element of scientific thing to it because crystal quartz being an example. Crystal quartz is what they call piezoelectrical, which basically means when pressure is applied to it, it does generate its own electrical field.
Yeah.
So there is a slight basis in things like crystals and stuff that
If you do
they
have a
have
big
certain properties.
Yeah, if you do have a big enough crystal, and I don't know, everybody can experience it, and you hold this crystal, you'll start getting pins and needles in your hand, and it's like a current is going through your hand. You know,
Mm.
I don't know if everybody experiences, but if you go into a crystal shop and there's a big massive crystal, I always put my hand straight towards it,
Yeah,
and it is producing energy of some kind.
Yeah.
But I just don't know the ins and outs of it. It's fascinating because physically it's a rock from the earth.
yeah.
Mm.
Maybe that is the that is part of life. If there was no crystal on earth, we would not survive. I don't know.
Let me ask you a question because I have my own theory on this. Do you think that when the crystals are farmed from the earth, they only hold their charge for a certain amount of time because they're disconnected from the earth now when they're farmed? Or do
No,
you think they just keep their charge?
they keep their properties because quartz itself, like I say, if you squeeze it hard enough, it will start generating an electrical field.
Mm.
Even after it's been removed from wherever it formed. So, but I don't believe that like tiger's eye is good for childbirth, and you know rose quartz stops you getting headaches or whatever. But I
Well,
do believe, I
More
do
saying
believe
it's good
that
for childbirth.
I do believe that crystals do have properties, but not the ones that a lot of people claim they do. And
Yeah,
they do have an energy about them.
yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, I've had a lot of health problems, and sometimes I'd have a crystal in my pocket, or watching the TV, I'd have a crystal in my hand. I've crystals in my hand all the time because I've been polishing a lot of crystals and stuff like that. Um, we like to believe that it's helping us in some sort of way. You know, the grounding process. Where you you get a charge from the land.
Sounds
You
like
know,
you polish a lot, Sam.
I could show you what I polish.
Not on the stream, Sam.
If you don't come back with a big rampant
Oh.
rabbit. Nobody look, all cover your eyes.
Oh,
I know it doesn't look much, but it took months to get them to that kind of condition.
they're very pretty though.
How'd you do it? In a sand thing?
It's do you know like like a workshop where you have these a grinding disc where you sharpen knives and stuff
Yeah.
or sharpen chisels. It's a
Yeah,
similar.
I've got a Dremel. You could probably do that with a Dremel a lot quicker.
Yeah, but the machine I have has a little bit more speed. Give me a second, I'll get it.
Sam's off to get a polishing toy.
I wonder if it's a rock one. Oh, oh dear.
Don't go over the last 10 seconds of what I just let off. It's a desk mounted thing. There's a sanding disc on this side, a polisher on this side. You can take this off and put a grindstone if you want to shape it and stuff. But they go through a tumbler first for a couple of weeks with graphite particles, because graphite is stronger than the actual rock itself. And you go through that different grades of graphite for a couple of weeks, and then you end up with the smoothing product. This itself is actually Donegal marble, and it was marble people use on their worktops and stuff like that, and it's polished. But in its raw state, it's quite rough.
Mm-hmm.
But when it takes a long time to actually polish marble, but when it is polished, it really keeps a really good shine. And then you got the clear quartz. It doesn't. When you get it, it's not clear. It's kind of cloudy in that, and that's because there's tiny fragments of roughness around the edges and stuff. You go through the tumbling process. You see a lot of these YouTube videos. They put rough stones in the tumbler, and next thing they take it out and they're all shiny and everything. It didn't work for me. I don't. I think it's a clickbaity thing on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
I spent ages. I spent a long time polishing them, and I'd be polishing them while watching the television. It's not. I'm there. I'm polishing all the time. I would hold the machine in my hand and then polish the stone while I'm watching the television. And before you know it, I polished a load of stone. But I don't think that you can actually polish the stone 100% through the tumbler. You have to use some sort of polishing machine. That's what I think anyway. It hasn't worked for me, but with tumbling alone.
So do you think you're a master polisher now, Sam?
Yes. You do have to go down that road, don't you?
Yep.
It's terrible. Hey, Jazzy!
So how long would you say it takes to get it to polish a stone properly?
About.
Does it don't look like a quick process?
No, it takes I'd say about 20 hours.
Jesus.
you can get it to polish, right? You can get it to polish, and then you think it's perfectly polished. The next morning, it's back cloudy again. So you just have to keep polishing it until that polish is so good that all the little
Grains of gone.
miniature scratches are out.
Yeah.
Do you know? Do you know? Some rocks are some rocks are different than others.
Keep digging, Sam.
Mm. It's kind of strange too. In the beginning, I decided I'd try and cheat this and not use graphite, and I would use sand instead. What I found was, when I use the sand is the same solid structure as the rocks that I'm trying to tumble. And what happens is the sand actually turns to mud afterwards. With the graphite, it turns into a kind of it's like cement dust.
Wouldn't industrial diamond powder be better?
Possibly, but possibly that'd be very expensive. I use graphite.
See, I always thought graphite was quite soft. It's what they use in pencils, isn't it?
It is, but I think, as a pencil, we've often used pencils, and the pencils break and that. And graphite is supposed to be one of the very hardest substance, and possibly because it's possibly a hardest substance at the molecular level. Yes,
yeah.
level, rather than its combined solid form sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're getting very geeky here. I think we're going to bore our chat.
That's all right. I'm going to finish up in a minute. Not have too much of a late night.
Yeah.
Lightweights.
Lightweight.
Says me, but it's only 10:30 here and just got up from 8 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll end the stream and you'll go back to bed.
It's actually quite mild lately. We're at 13 degrees now in November,
it has been here as well. I ain't streamed for a few days because the card I've got in my computer has been getting a bit overly warm lately, so I've ordered me a new card last night. So getting a new graphics card on Monday or Tuesday.
You'll be playing with that for the next week.
Well, it's one of the new RTX cards, so it'll, the stream should be smoother and everything, hopefully.
Mm.
It's a lot more powerful than the card I've got in there at the moment, so I can get back to my birdies next week.
Yeah.
Oh, good. That'll be good. All right, guys, we're going to end it here. If you want to go over and check out Sam from Life After Life's channel or Brett at Urban Wildlife UK, their links are pinned to the top of the chat. Go over and let them know that you've arrived, I suppose. I don't know what to say. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having us, and thank you to everybody in the chat for your comments.
Thank you very much again for a nice chat. It's good to have a conversation with other people with this,
I like the questions that come up in the chat as well, because you never know what question you're going to get asked. That's what I love about these chats. You never know what you're going to be.
Mm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, we will end it here. Good night, everybody, and
have a good night, everybody.
Bye.
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 Bye.